Hopefully crisis avoided. And I think I found a new way to put this thing back together. If it actually wants to go in like this. Doesn't really want to, does it? Oh yeah, but it does. Look at it. It would have been so bad to lose this thing. Now I'm going to take it to the edge of the table, hopefully not drop anything, and start to support it with my hand and rotate it. And now obviously I need to rotate this ring into its proper position, which I think is this one. Oh, finally. Yay, finally we are back where we were 5 hours ago, with a ton more work, but at least I know that I need to be very careful with the plastic from this watch. So this is a watch for weekends. I don't know, I cannot use this watch daily because for sure it will create problems for me. Let me see if I can actually get this thing in there over the white ring, hopefully. Oh yeah, that's not going to happen easily. Let me do that in high speed. Yeah, that thing will give me a lot of headache, so I decided to do this first. I need to change the crown with that big one, the new one, because we have a tiny one at this moment and I don't have tools small enough to do this. So I will do it with these pliers by holding them right close so I cannot overdo it. Oh, this is way tighter than I expected. I might actually need to hold them the right way. Okay. I hope the guy that put this in didn't use some glue or something like that. Okay, this isn't going anywhere. Ooh, that's actually really bad. Must investigate. Yep, we are not going to be finishing this watch today. This is something somewhat unexpected. Actually, no, I should have thought about it. You can see this case is way wider than the original one. Let me try and put them one on top of the other. So obviously the old crown stem has no chance of reaching into the watch. I can touch it because it doesn't really matter now. If I put it to the maximum in, you can see it barely reaches and it should be way like this. So nope. So this is the part that I actually missed. All the rest, it's fitting well together, so I will close this thing, but I cannot put a crown on it until I order one for this particular mechanism, which is going to be quite a bit annoying, but nothing else that I can do at the moment. Stretched the rubber ring so it fits now, but honestly it's kind of a bittersweet victory, because yeah, it's not the last time I close up this thing. I will need to open it up again to solve that issue with the crown. nothing that I can do about it. It is what it is. But this is a beautiful little watch, honestly. Glad I could solve the issue with the case. Yeah, we do have a tiny bit of marks in here. Not enough that makes me care anymore, considering that I almost lost this case because you cannot find a replacement plastic for it. Yeah, let's see. Let's put this thing in place so it will be able to put on the hand but not adjusted, because yeah, missing crown. This is a Vostok bracelet. Completely forgot that it's actually a brand bracelet, but not Orient. Well, I'm even happier now that I know that it's good quality. Almost finished adjusting the bracelet. I need to get two links from one side and two links from the other side, because this is really long and the pins are extremely well stuck in here. I almost broke this crappy Chinese plastic tool getting one of them out. I think this one, that's actually bent a little bit. Anyway, doesn't really matter now. Put it in there and get this in, and weirdly enough it only enters like this 90 degrees. Any other way you cannot slide it in. So yeah, interesting design, but doesn't really matter as long as it works. I'm happy with it and it looks really nice in my opinion. Okay, that's not all the way in. I just need to test it on my hand and see if it's good or not. A bit too loose, but that can be properly adjusted from here. I think one of these is the way to go. So again, do this the wrong way. And adjust one hole and see if that is good or not for the moment. Stay in there. Damn it. It went in the wrong one. That sounds a bit... yeah, you know how it sounds. Let's put this thing back. And this is a big watch. And it's an awesome watch, honestly. But need to wait for that crown. That annoys me. Really does annoy me. This is an awesome watch, and honestly it pains me to know that I need to wait for that crown. And I've overcome all the odds. This thing is working, as you can see perfectly. So I just want to say, don't search for perfection. If I wouldn't have insisted on removing all the dust, this would be in this state a few hours sooner without as much work, and it wouldn't have any imperfections in this area. Not that I care about them anymore. I think it just adds a bit more of myself into it and my craziness of trying to do everything perfect, but from time to time you should stop and not search for perfection, because you can lose a really good thing that you already have. Yeah, that I think it's deeper than it looks like, that thing that I just said. Anyway, so this is awesome. But now for you next, you will see the crown going in, hopefully. But for me next, I want to move this thing into, where is it? Into this case. Hopefully all will be good. We will see. Let's get this thing out of here. And yes, I am doing exactly what I said I wouldn't. I'm pulling on that thing, but actually no, first I need to get this plastic ring out of here. And this one is way sturdier than what I put in the other watch. So I'm thinking I might actually keep on hold on to this and use it instead of the white one that I put in the watch that I just built, because this seems to be again way better build quality. Way stronger, and it's flat on the top. The other one is not flat. Even the rubber, look at it. Okay, I'm keeping this. When I have the crown, I will use this instead of the other ones, for sure. Yeah, that's actually really good. So let's get this thing out of here. Exactly the way I told you not to do it. Okay, and this is looking really well. Yeah, this thing is looking like a champ. I am going just to a tiny bit clean it. Hope I don't wreck it again. But this thing is okay. I will try and give you a better... Okay, now you can see it. This is awesome. So the case was in really rough shape, but luckily everything in is in perfect shape. and it's in. This particular case has a different type of cover on it. As you can see, they are quite different. One of them has the rubber on it, the other needs to have the rubber in the watch, this one. And this one is similar to the one that we just used on the big watch. So that one I will actually, these two parts, I will actually put in the new watch when I get the crown. They seem way better fitting than what I put now. I'm really curious to turn this thing around and see how it looks. Obviously this needs to be cleaned and greased. I'm just closing it now for the sake of seeing how it looks. Whoa. Whoa. Okay. Okay. This is good. This is really, 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 really good. I like this thing. I really like this thing. Okay. Before putting the bracelet back, I need to give it a really nice clean. I will let it stay in soap and water over the night. As you can see, it has lots of grime in there. This was never cleaned since I got the watch secondhand. I just used rubbing alcohol on it. I do that on any watch that I get secondhand, but now it should be properly cleaned, and then I will send this thing to be oiled and cleaned inside, because it's actually worth it. I wasn't sure, but oh, that's nice. And this watch is ready to be cleaned on the inside and oiled, and the strap, as you can see, it's 100% squeaky clean, and this looks way better than expected. So for those that are easily grossed out, you should look away now, because I'm going to show you what came out of that strap. And there on the bottom you can see all the grime moving around. This was obviously clear water with just some soap in it. And this is the result of a few hours and just moving the bracelet around from time to time. Yep, think about it. When you buy a second-hand watch, you should actually clean the bracelet. Again, I really like this thing. Anyway, and I ordered for the red one 5 stems from eBay, from China, obviously, for about $2 delivered. So we'll be waiting for those to end this video, and hopefully everything will be okay. Taking a better look at this thing again, and I honestly think now that this case is actually a knockoff, and probably that is why the glass on it is that bad. Anyway, doesn't matter, I'm not stopping now. It looks too good to stop getting the crown, but also changing these things and this with the original things. I want as much as this thing as I can original. The dial, I'm not sure if it's original or not. It actually looks really good, but might also be a knockoff. Who knows with these things. This thing also has a really bad thread, really loose. It makes sense now. It actually does make sense now. Anyway, let's do this in high speed. This is about a month later. I bought, I think, 5 stamps for this particular caliber, 46-9-43 from eBay. They were dirt cheap. I don't even remember, but $2-3, something like that, delivered. So anyway, or at least that I remember. So at this point, that's the old one that I managed to break. I just want to compare them, so I am sure they have the same profile. Let me show you. And yes, they do. Everything is in the right place. So the old one goes somewhere around there. I don't care about it anymore. Let me put some of these things on and be back in a second. So there probably is a better way to do this, but I don't know that way, and at this particular moment I'm a bit too lazy to search online and find that way. So what I'm doing here, tightening this thing as much as it will go in, and I will insert it into the watch and see how much it sticks out. And based on that I know how much I need to actually cut it. I just need to make sure that this thing goes in where it actually should go in and I don't damage something. I think the whole movement is a bit rotated, so let me somehow, yeah, I think this is a bit better. Not even now. Yeah, this seems to be in the middle of the hole at this point. And it's in, and about this is how much it sticks out. It's about 2 millimeters from what I can see. Let me just hold on to the mechanism with something that doesn't create grease or fingerprints on it, so I can slowly pull this thing out. Yeah, that was latched in place and it's not releasing more than this. What I need to check now is see. Wait a second, this thing isn't rotating anything. It seems it's just in free air in there. That's a bit weird. Let me investigate this by looking under the watch when I rotate it, but I don't think it's actually rotating anything in there. Nope, my bad. It's actually rotating the date, which is the first position, which is good. And now if I put it a bit in theory it should rotate the needles, so let me check. Nope, sorry about that, me dumb. Didn't realize there was a initial position that I jumped over when I pushed this actually in. So there is this, which will set the date, and a bit more in, which will do nothing as it's the maximum that it will go in. So the other one was the one that moved the watch hands. So at this point I'm going to use these crusty calipers to see about how much I need to cut from this thing. And yeah, that's about right, and it's, as I said, hard for you to see on this crusty thing, 2 millimeters. I can actually lock this in place and make sure I cut exactly what I need from that thing. But now let's get this out, and to get this out I'm going to use this, which is not the greatest of tools for the job, but it will still do the trick. And pocket that release mechanism. And it did release perfectly. Now let's take this in the hand, unscrew it. And it's perfect. Now let's find something to cut it. I'm going to attempt to cut it with this thing and then file down the end to make sure it is all okay. So let's just grip it in here where I think 2 millimeters actually are and double check. And yeah, my approximation was quite exact. At this point, move everything further away. I don't want that little end flying into the watch. I just moved it a tiny bit, so get back to it. Make sure it doesn't fly into my eyes also. And this is hardened, but at least I made a mark on it. You cannot probably see it. Let's see. So I know where to cut it with something a bit beefier. If you first don't succeed, the tool that you are using is not big enough. 2 pieces. But as you can see, or you cannot yet see, it left a mark on this crappy Chinese tool. So I encourage you to use and buy higher quality tools. And maybe there is a better way to do this, but this is how I did it. And now I'm going to use some a really fine, I think it's diamond coated, or at least that's how they advertise them, files, to make sure this doesn't have any burrs, or how they are called, at the end of it, because we do not really want that. So let's do this now. Let's try and focus a bit closer. When doing this, obviously make sure you are not over the watch itself, because you will create fine dust. And I will need to clean this fingertip covers, because as you can see I am putting dust on them. And I think this is good enough, so I don't have any burrs that will prevent me from screwing this thing down. Let's see if we did anything good in here. And it seems we actually did. At this point I'm going to make sure the length is okay by inserting this thing into the watch again, and if it is, I will hold it down with, take it out, hold it down with pliers and make sure it's tightened. You might even put a really weak glue, but nah, I don't think, just tighten it. And it's not just perfect, it's super perfect. Let me show you the other positions. Be careful if you are doing this in some watches. If you don't hold to the mechanism, when you pull this, it will try to lift it. So in this one I see it doesn't really do that. Maybe it's still better to hold on to it. Obviously not putting your fingers where they shouldn't be. So position 1, position 2, and that's about it. Let's get this thing out, make sure it's tightened, and then put it back in, and we can close this thing. You can actually use pliers to do this, at least in this mechanism, because this part of the thread is 100% unused. So I don't care if I crush it slightly. Make sure you do not bend anything, obviously, but if you crush the thread here, no problem. Another thing, make sure you don't overdo it. You are working with really fine thread in here, so you have the potential to destroy it if you insist. Yep, in my book that's tightened. Let's put this thing back in. Let's focus on that watch. When you are putting this back in, make sure it goes into the hole in the mechanism and just slightly wobble it around, even rotate it until it goes in. I just pulled it out by mistake again. If you push on it too much when it's not in the proper position, you have a high chance of breaking something or bending it or whatever, and that's not good. And it's in now perfectly. And it's perfect. At this point, I am putting back the case on this watch. Not the case is already there, the back of the case. And I am obviously going to tighten it with my homemade tool. I didn't do anything to this tool, just repurposing it temporarily. Okay, ready. Let's tighten this thing by hand as much as we can. When doing this, just wanted to add, make sure you do not push on it too much. You know, that plastic that I was keep telling you it's really weak, you could break that one, and at least I know for sure I do not want to break that one. So let me tighten it in high speed. Personally, I don't like to over tighten these things. When I feel it's becoming really hard to screw it down even more, I stop. I've found things like this tightened so much that you almost cannot undo them. Why? Why does it help to do? But I just don't get it. At this point, what I want to do, as you can see, because this bracelet is from a different company, it's not quite in position in there, and this thing is a bit, come on, focus, maybe, where's the focus? There is the focus. This thing is a bit wobbly in this area. You can hear the noise. So I want to tighten these things. I could do it in place, but I'm a bit afraid I will scratch something, so I will take it out and tighten them and then put it back in. So let me do that now. I've taken this thing off, and to tighten it I could use pliers to somehow squeeze on it, but I don't really like that idea. It might bend in a weird way. So what I'm thinking I will actually do, hold it down with my hand and simply push on it with pliers. Although this is easier said than done. But it is bending, as you can see. Hopefully, let me focus. You can see this one is way tighter now than the other one. If it's too tight, I can undo it. Don't do this tens of times, you will break it. Once or twice to adjust it, it's okay. This thing that I used to put the pins back in place, at least one of them at the moment, is not the right way to do it, but sometimes I just don't do it the right way. As you can see, we are touching there perfectly. No matter what I do, we are still touching on both sides. On the left side, as you can see, we are up in the air. And I need to be touching like on the right side. So I will do the same thing here. Just want to show you, when you tighten this, it's quite tricky to put it back in. So what you need to do is come with it like this. You can see it's going in, but our I don't know, how is this thing called? I keep forgetting the name for it. Pin, whatever, was not back in, but I moved it a little bit around and wiggled it back in. So at this point I'm just going to play around with its other end. If you try to directly put it with this in, you can see I cannot even take it out like that. So I would need first to remove it, push it from here to get it out. So yeah, it's a bit tricky, but it's doable. Just wiggle it around in there and it will work. Really close to the end of this video and finishing this particular watch. It was quite a hassle, ups and downs, but in the end I really like it. The only downside is that, again, that glass is really weak, so if I don't want to need to replace it with I don't know what, because nothing will particularly fit this one, I will use this as a weekend watch. Already have this the right way. Let me just move a bit the camera, the right size, not way. So it's a Vostok bracelet on an Orient watch, and this thing looks really good. And the hour is set at this point and it's keeping good time at the moment, and this mechanism kept good time before I did anything to it, so most likely it will continue to keep a really good time. Yeah, I just need to clean it a tiny bit. I have a few fingerprints, but fingerprints will come up on this, so it's glossy. What can you do? And this just about ends the video. Looking perfectly, working. Actually, yeah, let me just show you. I didn't even show you that. I just went ahead and assumed you believe me, it's working. So look at the day. Changing perfectly. Let's pull this crown back. I think this is the date level. Nope, not enough. And it just came undone. Put some glue in there. I'm going to use some of this universal glue. It's not like super glue. Do not use super glue. It might fog up the inside of your lens. Nothing like that fogs up around it when it dries. This thing does not, and as you can see, it kind of glues to metal decently well. You really need to pull on it to get it out, and even there you still leave residue. So for a thread, this thing is good. And I'm going to not just put like an idiot a blob of it on top. Obviously I'm going to use a needle to put it inside that little hole, because I don't want to open this thing up once again. I can put inside of it and I am able to screw it down in there. Focus. It's not going to focus around. Screw it down in there because I have this right there. You can see it, the end of it. So it's doable without opening stuff up once again. But yeah, it seems it's a decent idea to put a tiny bit of glue on that. Maybe I didn't tighten it enough, but I didn't want to break it. So up to you to see how you do this. I used the tip of the old stem to put some glue inside the thread of that crown. And at this point I'm letting it dry, and I will consider it dried up and it's pulled out. So vapors can escape out, not only go into the watch. Some will go into the watch. Again, do not use super glue for this. When this thing is dry, I will also consider that dry-ish. But probably I will leave it until tomorrow to start rotating it in both directions. I don't want to need to do all of this over again. So for you, this video probably will end tomorrow. For me. For you, it will be in a few seconds. If you are doubting my choice of glue even for a second, the one left outside dried, and it's quite sticky in my opinion. I cannot remove it from this pin. Extremely hard to remove it, and it's still there, most of it. Let me focus. So yeah, I think it will do the trick, but I'm going to let it dry up on the stem itself, and yeah, I will do some work on these three watches. Until then, I want to polish them a little bit and give the bracelets a good clean because they are really dirty. But yeah, that's a separate video. It will be in the description if you want to watch it. And finally, this thing is working, and it's actually keeping good time. So let me just demonstrate. Both directions work, although it's not recommended on some mechanism to go backwards. And this thing works, the date. This thing works. And we pop it in and doesn't work anything. So it's perfect. Finally, this beautiful watch is finished. But it was a really long process. Quite annoying. I learned a few things. This thing is cursed. Even while filming the end of this video, my battery just died. Yeah, nothing that is related to this works as intended at the first go. But again, it's finished, it's looking beautifully. I must admit I have a few watches. Yeah, a few. But aesthetically, this one for me, I think it looks better than any of the others. And maybe the fact that I choose how it looks affects that. Anyway, that's about it. Thank you very much for watching, and I don't know, staying together with me through all of this pain. It was worth it, and it is worth it in the end. So if you are going to attempt something like this, there is one single most important advice: do not give up, do not force anything, and if you ever feel like you don't have enough patience or you are tired, just take a break, start the next day or whatever. But if you are tired, if you are impatient, if you try to force things, you will break stuff. And if you are like me and you have a bit of OCD and you want everything squeaky and perfectly clean, it's almost impossible to do that. I've even seen absolutely new watches with minuscule specks of fluff in them. So the fact that I'm trying to make it 100% perfect, I think it's too much. Anyway, this is a weekend watch. Again, the plastic is quite weak, but it looks really good. So that's about it. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. In which case, please give it a like, check out my other videos, and as always, see you in the next one. Bye.